It happened nearly 30 years ago, and yet I still remember the lesson. We were watching my brother-in-law John perform at the Michigan Marching Band Competition Finals at the Silverdome. I don't remember the first bands to perform. Nothing stood out about them. But then Milford High School took the field, and Debbie and I graduated from Milford, and now John was attending. And so Milford's show was phenomenal. They performed excerpts from Jesus Christ Superstar, and they had colorful costumes and theatrics. I mean, it was like a halftime show at a professional football game. It was that good, lots of movement. And they received by far the biggest ovation from the crowd. Well, there was only one band left to perform, Lakeland High School, which was our crosstown rivals. They were from Milford as well, and they were the reigning state champions. They were introduced, they marched in, and they took the field. And they began to play their music while they were marching. And they made some various figures on the field. They played and they marched and they played. And I got to tell you, I was waiting for something more, something spectacular. But that was it. They marched and they played. When they finished, they received an ovation not nearly as loud as Milford's. So we waited for the judges to tally their scores, and we anticipated the results. And finally they were announced, and this year's Michigan High School State Marching Band champion is Lakeland High School. Yeah, I know, Jim and Vicky's kids went to Lakeland. And I thought, are you kidding me? What an injustice. That is not right. We put on a production, and they marched. Come on, be serious. So when John came out, I shared my thoughts. I was hoping to cheer him up. Man, I said, you guys got ripped off. You should have won. Your show was phenomenal. All they did was march. And I still remember his response. When you march and when you play as good as they do, you don't need anything else. You don't need the glitz. And then he said, they were near perfect, and a dazzling show is a cover-up for the flaws. From high school. I mean, that is not only a good observation in marching band competition, but also in life. My pages are sticking together. So let me repeat that again. That's not only a good observation in marching band, but also for life. How often are we impressed by the dazzle and we overlook the flaws? And I think secondly, and perhaps a more important question is, who are we playing for in the first place? Who is our audience? Because on the field of life, we can play to the crowd or we can play to the judge, which is God. And understand that each judges according to different standards. Whose applause are you seeking? Milford entertained the crowd with great success, but they left disappointed when they came before the judges. Lakeland realized that the crowd is not going to be dazzled by our performance, but it didn't matter because that was not their primary concern. Knowing the judges evaluate by a different criteria, that's what they played to, and as a result, they achieved their goal. God's standard is different than man's. And it has nothing to do with being flashy. He calls us to keep in step or in unison with Jesus. That is the goal of our faith. How do we do that? It all begins with attitude. Last week we had our praise service, and thank you, Scott, for leading that out. We focused on thanking God for the good things that He gives us and praising Him for what He has done and what He is doing in our life, in us, through us, and around us. You know, we often sing the song 10,000 Reasons. There are endless reasons to praise God. And yet many times we are so caught up in ourselves that we don't take time to praise God. We get distracted by our activities, our worries, our goals, our to-do list, that thanking God gets lost in the busyness. And therefore, today we're going to focus on how to walk in step with Jesus, which develops a life of praise. Not just once in a while, but a life of praise. And we're going to look where Jake had us this morning in Matthew chapter 6, verses 9 through 13.